Good morning, Mr. Sarkhouh. This is some feedback on your second draft of your comparison contrast essay. Overall, I think you did a good job. It was a lot of good points that you bring up. I think you do a good job of bringing your ideas into the paper, but sometimes your ideas go off into too many ideas, and I'll tell you what I mean by that right now. So intro-wise, there's a few just like little grammar type of errors, vocabulary errors. The most education chosen, I think you probably want to say the most popular profession chosen in the world, no wide, are doctors and engineers. And here you say the claim. You can't just bring in the without introducing it with something else. You can't say the claim. Who said this? So you have to be clear on who's speaking. Again, I like how you're bringing in outside research, but just be clear on who is saying it. So you could say something like, according to news.com, they found that almost 2 million students in the U.S. alone had chosen one of these majors to study, period. Because you already mentioned the two majors here, so you could just say 2 of these majors to study, period. Move on to the next sentence. This one was a confusing sentence. Studying to be a doctor and engineer are the most transform our mind from low level to high level. This is a confusing sentence. I think what you're trying to say is that these are two professions that really make us think outside the box, or maybe make us really think critically, or they transform us to be to a high level of thinking. Try to rephrase it anything like that. So you give us a couple similarities. I like to see a little more similarities, like maybe one, like just be something, a simple sentence, or maybe use a complex sentences. You could say, both professions are have many of the same prestige and the same honor and nobility, and are viewed to be great professions. Period. On the other hand, there are many things that make the two differences different, which each is the amount of time at work, and be more clear. Don't just say education, or say education required, or say something to be more clear about that. And then the few little grammar errors where the highlights are: the difference between doctors and engineers is the amount of time at work. Doctors spend mostly more than 14 hours per day at work, whereas blank work almost 7 or 9 hours. Be clear. You're missing a word here. What could you put here? Nice, good sentence comparing the two. I like it. But then you go into this next sentence. More time at job is more helpful for a community. Now, this is a place where this is what I mentioned in the beginning, that you're adding too many points here. Your focus should be just on this topic sentence. Show the differences in the amount of time at work for both these professions. You shouldn't get into which one is more helpful. You notice how that's the language of opinion. And remember, this is what I was talking about when I was saying keep your paper neutral. And plus, it's off topic. So that's 2 strikes. This is off topic, because now you're talking about which one is more helpful to community. If you want to make that point, then change your topic sentence to that point. But I think your topic sentence is fine. Show the difference of time at work. So this is something that you don't want to speak about in this paragraph. Maybe you want to have another paragraph and you want to write about which one is more helpful to community, or how one is more helpful to the community than the other. That's fine, but it doesn't belong in this paragraph. And then you kind of go back to topic. For instance, when doctor works, so this is kind of like the sentence is just floating here. It's not even connected to the sentence before or after. One doctor works mostly 14 hours and makes surgery for the patient. And I would be more clear before you get to this more, for instance, part. I would say something like, I would make a point before this, for instance. I would say, doctors have to be at work until their surgery is complete, or the patients are fine. for instance, and then go into this. As a result, the doctor will work much amount of time. The injured citizen will be tacked. I don't know what that is. That needs to be reworded. Care as fast as possible. Furthermore, this would be a nice place for, on the other hand, or another transition to show contrast. Engineers work for 7 to 9 hours and leave the job site even the job site isn't finished. The job site isn't finished maybe cause an issue in the city and traffic jam. Again, this is a new point that you're bringing, talking about quality of what they're doing, and that's something that's not in this topic sentence. Shouldn't be discussing this under this topic sentence. Your topic, if you want to, make another paragraph talking about how the professions cause issues to society differently. The doctor causes people to get hurt directly, and the engineer causes people to get hurt indirectly through traffic jams and things like that. That'd be fine, but that's another argument for another paragraph. And then again, this is kind of floating here because the sentence after it is not connected to this, what you're talking about here. For example, my cousin works for 7 hours per day and at the job site, and he told me that when he finishes from work, he goes to home and he rests. This is a good point that goes back to what I was saying up here, to show the difference of how the value of time work. But then you go into more issues. As a consequence, the job site lead to many issues such as delay in government projects, community help people. Doctors work a lot for the community help people. Again, I would prefer that these new issues where you're talking about the quality of the different jobs, stick to what this paragraph is about. This paragraph is strictly about the amount of time at work and what are the differences between them. So these new issues that you bring up, they shouldn't be in here. Again, that's what I said here. And this was just a suggestion that I said a way that you could say it. Same thing that I said, maybe engineers have the set hours. Maybe you could say that before this sentence here. And then you give the point afterwards or the example afterwards. And then on the next paragraph, the second difference is the amount of education. Again, that's unclear. Tell me, be more specific. The education to become one of these professions. That would be more clear than just saying the amount of education. Study for less than 6 years. This is unclear as well. Or the doctors need to study for 8 years and more. I think you want to say or more here. And the same thing here. You're bringing in new points in this paragraph where you're supposed to focus strictly on the amount of education. You go into issues of quality here between the two professions. Has less issues in the work. Again, that's not has anything to do with the education of the two. Proves more amount of education. And then again here in the conclusion, you bring up another new point. Engineers have more comfortable work than doctors. And so you keep on bringing this idea of quality of the work of the two. And definitely in the conclusion, you shouldn't be bringing up new points. So make those changes, upload it into this same second draft of comparison and contrast, same place. Just delete this one and upload the new one, and we'll look at it.